Have you ever looked up at the night sky and felt a sense of wonder? A connection to something ancient and vast? For thousands of years, so did our ancestors. But they didn't just wonder. They watched, they measured, and they predicted. They were the first astronomers, the original scientists who laid the groundwork for everything we know about the cosmos today. And their stories are absolutely incredible. Long before telescopes, computers, or space agencies, ancient civilizations were obsessed with the stars. In Mesopotamia, around 3000 BC, the Sumerians and Babylonians were meticulous sky watchers. They weren't just stargazing for fun. It was a matter of life and death. The movements of the sun, moon, and planets dictated their agricultural calendar. When should they plant their crops? When would the rivers flood? The sky held the answers. They created detailed star charts, mapping constellations and tracking the paths of celestial bodies. They identified the zodiac, the same one we know today, as the belt of stars the sun appeared to travel through over the course of a year. The Babylonians became so good at this that they could predict lunar and solar eclipses with stunning accuracy. Imagine the power and awe that came with knowing when the sun would vanish from the sky. They used a mathematical system based on the number 60, which is why we still have 60 seconds in a minute and 360 degrees in a circle. Their legacy is literally written into how we measure time and space. Now let's travel to ancient Egypt, where the stars were deeply intertwined with religion and the afterlife. The Egyptians are famous for their pyramids, but did you know these monumental structures are also giant astronomical instruments? The shafts inside the Great Pyramid of Giza, for instance, align perfectly with specific stars, like those in the Orion constellation, which they associated with the god Osiris. They believed these shafts were pathways for the pharaoh's soul to ascend to the heavens and join the gods among the stars. Their most important celestial event was the annual appearance of the star Sirius just before sunrise. This event, known as the heliacal rising of Sirius, coincided perfectly with the yearly flooding of the Nile River, which was the lifeblood of their civilization. This celestial signal told them it was time to prepare for the fertile soil the flood would bring. Based on this, they developed a solar calendar of 365 days, one of the most accurate of the ancient world, and a direct ancestor of the calendar we use today. Meanwhile, in ancient Greece, something revolutionary was happening. The Greeks took the observational data from the Babylonians and Egyptians and started asking a different kind of question, not just what was happening in the sky, but why. They sought to explain the universe through logic, mathematics, and reason. Think of Thales of Miletus, often called the first scientist. He famously predicted a solar eclipse in 585 BC, which was so shocking it supposedly stopped a battle in its tracks. Then there was Pythagoras, who you might know from math class. He proposed that the Earth was a sphere and that the movements of the planets produced a kind of celestial music, the music of the spheres. But the real heavyweight of Greek astronomy was Claudius Ptolemy. In the 2nd century AD, he wrote a book called the Almagest, which became the definitive astronomy textbook for over 1400 years. Ptolemy's model of the universe was geocentric, meaning it placed the Earth at the center with everything else revolving around it. To explain the strange retrograde motion of planets, where they appear to move backward in the sky, he developed a complex system of circles upon circles called epicycles. It was incredibly complicated, but it worked. His model could predict the positions of planets with remarkable precision for his time. While we now know the Earth isn't the center of the universe, Ptolemy's work was a monumental achievement in using mathematics to model the physical world. Let's not forget the incredible contributions from other parts of the world. In ancient China, astronomers kept meticulous records of celestial events for centuries. They recorded guest stars, what we now know are supernovae, and comets, including the one we call Halley's Comet, centuries before Halley was even born. Their records are so detailed that modern astronomers still use them to study the history of exploding stars. In the Americas, the Maya civilization developed one of the most complex and accurate calendars of the ancient world. They were brilliant mathematicians and astronomers, building observatories like the one at Chichen Itza, known as El Caracol. They tracked the path of Venus with incredible accuracy, creating a Venusian calendar that was off by only a few hours over a period of 500 years. For the Maya, astronomy was deeply connected to their cosmology and ritual life. The sky was a sacred book, and they were its most dedicated readers. And in ancient India, astronomers like Aryabhata, writing around 500 AD, made some astounding proposals. He correctly argued that the Earth rotates on its own axis, which is what causes the apparent movement of the stars. He also provided incredibly accurate calculations for the length of the year and the circumference of the Earth. He even suggested a heliocentric model with the planets revolving around the Sun, a full 1,000 years before Copernicus became famous for the same idea in Europe. So, what can we learn from these ancient stargazers? They show us that curiosity is a fundamental part of being human. They prove that with careful observation, patience, and a desire to understand, incredible discoveries are possible, even without modern technology. They built their understanding of the cosmos piece by piece, observation by observation, over thousands of years. Each culture added a new layer, a new perspective, from the practical predictions of the Babylonians to the philosophical inquiries of the Greeks and the precise calendrics of the Maya. These ancient scientists were not just looking at points of light, they were deciphering the language of the universe. They were our first guides to the cosmos, and their legacy is written in the stars themselves. The next time you look up at the night sky, remember them. Remember the thousands of years of human history, curiosity, and genius that have brought us to our modern understanding of the universe. Thank you so much for watching. If you found this journey back in time as fascinating as I did, please hit that like button and subscribe for more stories about the history of science. And let me know in the comments which ancient civilization's astronomy impresses you the most. See you next time.